and welcome to the EV Cafe Takeaway, that podcast focused on the zero emission future that we all hope for. So, every week, as you know, I get joined by one of the team from the EV Cafe, and this week I've got the lovely JC. JC, you seem a very regular appearance on the show. Good to have you back.
It's always brilliant to be here. I just love chatting to people about their passions. So I wouldn't miss this for the world.
Ooh, so we're going to get to talk about some passions. Let's have a look at that and see what happens, because every week, as you know, we get joined by one of the wonderful innovators, pioneers and collaborators of our industry. And we got to meet this man about a little over a year ago as we were planning for the first time that the EV Cafe Village would have been at the CV show. And it is the wonderful, and we'll qualify wonderful shortly, the wonderful Stephen Hards from the RHA. Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. It's great to see you guys again. And as you say, we did get to meet a year ago, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that, but great to be back in front of the camera with yourselves.
Well, so for everybody's context, Steve worked on the steering committee. Pretty much you oversaw last year's show, I think. That was pretty much big responsibility because the show was in need of a little bit of direction and energy. And Steve, you and the team really kind of stepped up last year and brought some new kids to the block. Not least the EV Cafe Village, just saying, everybody. It's going to be bigger and better this year. We'll come on to that as well. But Steve, what gave you that sort of energy and determination to really kind of step into that role within the CV show? What was your vision, and what is your vision for the CV show?
Well, back then, looking back to when we first met, I think it's fair to say that the commercial vehicle show itself, it's been around for, at that point, 24 years. It's in its 25th year this year. It's hit a point where it needed some revitalization. The way that trade shows, that events were put to the market these days is very different. And it's changed a lot over that 20 odd years. And it really did need some impetus. It really needs some drive. And my real vision for it was to get closer to the audience, get closer to the visitors, get closer to the exhibitors, and truthfully understand what it was that they needed and what they needed from us to be able to give them that conduit to the market and to be able to help them accelerate their business models. And it was a real pleasure to get involved, to work with the team that's been delivering that show for so many years, and to also challenge that team in a different way to say, well, what about this element? Let's go out and have those, when we're having those media days, let's do them a little bit differently. When we're doing those exhibitor days, how do we get really into the detail with those exhibitors as well? And then actually show them the change, because I think there'd been a lot of trying to adopt change over the years, and some of it had worked really well and some of it hadn't worked so well. So it was all about giving that confidence in the show, about driving the show forward, both from a visitors, but also from I'll come into this more probably later on, but about what really is the ROI for the exhibitors. Is it a pure monetary piece? Is it about their engagement? Is it about their brand awareness, so on and so forth? And then adopting the right show for them to be able to accelerate that forward. And along the way, we got to meet some lovely new people, and like yourselves, came on board with an absolutely phenomenal stand that really enticed people to come to the show and gain knowledge, content, and go away with those thought leadership pieces. So drove more questions in some respects than it did answers. But that was really what the show was about in its transitional year. It was a bit of a reset. It was a bit of what isn't there that we need to bring to the show and can bring to the show quite quickly. And what do we need to sample and do a bit of, testing of what works so that we can then adopt it for this year's show. So things like the seminar theatre areas. You guys had a great program of fireside chats, of panel discussions, all around, the EV side of things. what else do people want to hear about? They want to hear about all the other alternative fuels. They want to understand about what the infrastructure is looking like, all that side of things. And, I'm dipping into a bit of what we're going to, this year, but we've absolutely accelerated that piece this year with, the technical seminar area, the main stage. Yourselves are back with new lively content. And we've still got those things that people want to see, the products and services that they need to go and touch and feel and engage with the market on to understand what's right for their businesses and their operations. So it was, for me, going back to your original question, what drove me? It was all of that. It was the passion for the industry that I have that supported me in my career so much. But it was also the fact that this was a 20-odd year show that I didn't want to see fail. We're a partner of the show. We want to drive it forward. And if I can leave with this one point from a show perspective, when we went to the market and we started engaging, there was just an overwhelming will for the show to do well and to adapt going forward. So it was that. It was the engagement. It was the will for the industry to have a show for itself, and it is still the largest commercial vehicle show that there is in the UK.
So JC, you were right. We get that passion early on. That's exciting. I love it when passion drives a mission. Anyway, John, you go.
Well, I'm interested in your journey, Stephen, because the easiest thing in the world to do is to focus on one thing. So you have focused on the heavy sector, and you've been working with the Road Haulage Association for some years now to drive forward policy and interventions which create a supportive environment for the operators. But then you said, well, do you know what? That's not enough in my life. I need to pick up the CV show as well and drive that forward. Would you say that you are a real change monger? You're somebody who really is hungry to drive for the very highest branches of the tree?
Yes is the simple answer, but I think from you have to look at. I have to tell you a bit on a journey of my career history, if that's really if to answer that question. I started out in IT. I went and did a diploma. I got my diploma, and then I went, you know what, I want to make a lot of money out of this diploma. So what can I do? Right, I'm going to go and work my way from the ground up. I went into IT support, supporting a load of video box office people, which is interesting in itself and brings a few stories. I'm happy to expand. But and that was that then developed into going to working in produce and being support for a produce company owned by an investor. Who also had luxury hotels and a whole raft of different things. But when I got into the produce sector, it was just understanding the logistics of the operations, how timing was so important, how the systems that you had and the uptimes and everything else was so important. And that kind of led to my understanding of a bit more around operations, more so technical at that point than actually what I do now. And then I just fought my way up the tree. So when I saw opportunities, what I am is a grafter. I see an opportunity. I'm not going to sit there and say, I'm not qualified enough to do it. I'm going to go for it and be told, oh, you can't do it. And then I'll find out why I can't do it. And that'll drive me forward to what do I need to learn? How do I need to develop to get to the next thing? Because I've never really, and this is in all honesty, had that total view of what I want to achieve and what direction I want to go in. But I know that I want to strive for more. I know I want to be the best I can possibly be. I see failure in so much that so many people wouldn't see failure in. And I'm heavily process driven. So when I moved on from produce, we were acquired by another company, an enterprise level company that's owned by a conglomerate in America. And that opened up also my eyes to the art of the possible. So the big world suddenly being this little number in a big world, and how that then opened up so many more branches of what I could do. It also opened me up to a lot more money, an opportunity around money, both what I had to invest in companies and drive forward, but also around myself and what realistically I was valued at. And that was really important and a really important stepping stone for me. And when I was working for that company, I was doing essentially what you would call almost solutions architecture. It wasn't quite to the extent of that, but it was where they would go and acquire businesses and understand how they could integrate it in the technical infrastructures. And that got me around the UK across all 4 nations, and really opened up these wonderful corridors of meeting new people in the industry, in logistics. And then I said, you know what, I've done best part of 60-odd thousand miles every year of driving. I'm hardly ever home. I've recently got married when the company was acquired, and I had a wife at the side of me saying, you know, want to start a family, want to do that, you need to be home. Funny enough. And from there, I looked for opportunities more local, and Peterborough is my local area. And this opportunity at the RHA came up to go and head out their IT department. And I took it, open arms. That's how I got into the RHA. So I kind of went IT, acquisitions, implementation solutions, back to head of IT. And then it was really, you could say fate, or it was good timing, or whatever you want to say. Richard Smith, our now MD, started around a similar sort of time, and we've kind of he's been a huge supporter of mine with my career development and how I've gone from one role to the next. And I started challenging him and asking around certain operational things that a head of IT wouldn't normally ask, more to do with our commercials and how we supported the industry. And that then invited me and gave me opportunity to ask those questions in the right forums and to grow into different roles to where I am now as head of operations, supporting the delivery of a raft of commercial lines, as well as the IT functions and other functions to be able to support our membership in the right way. So a bit of a long-winded way of getting there, but you can kind of get from that I never went on one clear journey path through, but every element I went on gave me a different lens, as I say, of what the different operations, how they operate. I learned about the technologies, the vehicles, the systems, obviously, but also the people. I think one of the things that gets lost in a lot of the journey that a lot of people go on and they talk about their experiences. But I'll tell you what, meeting some of the most fantastic people from all ways of working life, all sectors. You met them all when you were doing acquisitions. Lawyers would have gone in there and looked at businesses, and there'd be nervousness from certain colleagues, there'd be adoption from others, there'd be complete nervousness around change from others. So you had to deal with a whole different eclectic group of individuals, which was fantastic for me, because that then set me up for dealing with those challenges in my leadership world and in what I now do from an operations point of view with our industry, if that makes sense. So
makes
really
perfect
really
sense. Mm-hmm. The RHA, for those of our listeners who maybe are either unaware or not sure of what you do, can you just briefly explain the RHA and its purpose?
Yes, the RHA, the Road Haulage Association, as we are recognised as, is a membership-led organisation that is all about supporting the delivery of goods on the road, whether that's heavy goods, light goods, whether that's coach van, whatever it is. We support the industry with driving their businesses forward. And we do that in a number of different ways. And I'd need another 3 hours to explain all the different people and ways that we do it, but I'll do it in a nutshell. Essentially, we have our political side, which is all about lobbying government for the regulatory changes, for understanding, financial responsibility, all of those kind of things, really driving home the messages that our industry is telling us that we need to feed back into all forms of government to get change and to bring awareness of those elements in what we've done over the last few years in a much more analytical way, using fact-driven, evidence-based ways of driving those messages into government, which I believe, has received a lot better than just, your usual lobbying through opinion in some respects. So we've got the policy side. We've got a number of commercial services that we use, that we have to offer to our members to support them with the different elements that they would need within their operations. But at the heart of all that is our membership. And ultimately, that's what we're there to that's what we exist for. We exist for our members. We exist for the industry and to support those members on the challenging journey, especially in current climates, through whatever that may be. Whether that's they need support financially, whether that they need support with getting their message through, or whether it's through our help desk, just general day-to-day support with the challenges they face in their operations. As I say, on top of that, we have a raft of commercial services, whether it's training, whether it's technical services through our tachograph and all the other bits that we do, as well as having a well-stocked, well-established online and online shop where you can buy your goods as well. But at the heart of it all, you can't lose track of it. It is the members. It's about the membership focus, and we do that through our 3 6s. Which is our pillars, our 6 pillars, our 6 priorities, and our 6 values. And that's what really governs the way that we operate. And I can see you jumping at the bit to say, well, tell us more.
I love a process. So come on, let's go.
So essentially what you've got with our values.
I was thinking, I hate a process, let's stop.
But this is the stuff which is really memorable, isn't it? This is how you turn what is a very complex thing into something really simple for everybody to understand.
Absolutely. And it's really important that with 130 plus people working in your organisation, association, that you're all aligned with what the vision and the goals ultimately are. You can have your mission statement. That's brilliant. That's our driving business on the roads. Absolutely. That's what we're there to try and ultimately achieve. But how are we going to do that? Well, firstly, it's our values. Our values are what are at the core of what we expect from all of our employees, what we strive to achieve, not only externally, but internally as well. And that's through being collaborative. So collaboration, trusted partner, supportive, giving quality, through relevance, which is a really important one, because it's all good doing quality, but if it's not relevant to what you do, then and what people need from you, it's pretty pointless. And then being knowledgeable. Now people might say, well, surely you should be experts. We're not experts, but what we do is we tie in all the different elements to ensure that that expert advice is readily available to our members and to the industry. We will always say we're knowledgeable because we have a lot of areas we have to cover, and we have some people that have expert content specialisms within those areas as well, but we are not experts and we would never claim to be. So that's why that is our key 6 values. Off the back of that, you kind of need that's great. That's what we aspire to do as individuals and how we want to conduct ourselves and what we try to put at the heart of what we engage with. But ultimately, as I've said to you, is we have the membership, but we also have a lot of commercial side to us. So how do you ensure you don't become a commercial entity and that you keep the membership at the focus of what you do? And that's where our pillars come in. So they're the things that reinforce the association, ensure that it stays and remains for a long time to come. And those pillars are our membership, the people, because people are our greatest asset within the association. We don't have loads of buildings and things that we have as assets. We don't have we do have some vehicles through our training arm, but we don't have massive amount of what you would call in a normal association or in a normal business big assets. We have people, and people are our greatest asset. Finance, so we've got to make sure we're financially stable, otherwise we won't be here for very long, and that's important. Business growth, because if we stagnate, how do we remain representative of the industry so that when we're talking in policy, we're talking about the products and services we offer, that we are representative, going back to that relevance piece within our values. The branding campaigning, really important. We are not just about being commercial. We're not just about bringing the money and all the other side of things. It can't be that. We're there for the membership to give them a voice, and we do that through our branding campaigning. And then finally, it's about our public affairs and policy. The brand, you may say that the public affairs and policy are very similar to brand and campaigning. Brand and campaigning is more about the thing that you're trying to get across. The way in which we engage and the people that we engage with is done a lot more through our public affairs and what they drive from a policy point of view. Yeah, and then off the back of that, when you then think about the public affairs and policy side of things, it's the final sixes, which is really about the what are we going to be campaigning on? What are the policy initiatives? What are the fundamentals of what we're trying to drive message-wise forward? And that's skills, facilities, net zero, international, cost and regulations, and infrastructure. I remembered them all as well. So. I always get to the last one and wonder which one I haven't said. But no, and a lot of that will probably resonate with yourselves in terms of, you know, what you're hearing about, what you're having to, like with the CV show, the content that people are wanting to actually digest, to understand more about, especially net zero, infrastructure being the key ones, but also skills is a very big topic at the moment around how are we going to upskill our next generation of workforce? What does that next skill set look like? You know, because that ties back into alternative vehicles, it ties into technicians, it ties into IT people, finance. How all that piece comes together is really something that the industry is wanting to look forward to in terms of how they can drive it forward.
It's great to know that it's such a well underpinned organisation, given the challenges of road haulage. You know, it's a slim margin world. You've got big challenges in net zero and infrastructure amongst others, but skills is really critical as well. So being sort of alongside of the road haulage industry to carry some of that sort of heavy weight, if you like, must be well appreciated by that audience. What sort of feedback comes into the business? I mean, I'm sure they're telling you what you should be doing, which you're not. But what are the things that they're really appreciating and valuing for you?
I mean, I would say our public affairs and policy side has really changed over the last 3 to 5 years. It's become a lot more focused, a lot more direct in different channels, but also it's all the different levels of government that we now engage with. You know, a lot of people used to think that we were, rightfully, wrongfully, they always used to think that we were very Westminster centric, and we weren't paying the same amount of attention to the devolved nations, and it wasn't right in that respect, that there was a lot of work going on in the background, but we totally understood why, from the way that we communicated, it would come across as extremely Westminster centric. So I'd say that one of the things and the changes that hopefully that we also get feedback on a regular basis is the way that we engage with government, the way that we engage at all different levels and across all the different nations is probably one of the strongest things that we get feedback on. As you say, we're here to be challenged by the membership over what we're not doing that we should be doing, or what they feel that we should be doing and not doing. And that's, you know, we have over 8,500 members. So that's a lot of voices, a lot of opinions. But when those voices come together and the message is clear, which happens really regularly because of the way that we're set up through our regional councils, through the briefings that we do, through the fact that our board is elected members, is really important. And that I think, you know, John, you both alluded to it, the way that we are underpinning the association with those values, pillars, priorities, and the governance that we have in place across all forms of levels of the association is really how we ensure that those messages come across in a clear, concise manner, that we can then make it into actionable content, essentially. But yeah, one of our biggest, you know, if I look at it and reflect, one of our biggest over the last 3 to 5 years is one, our public affairs and policy side of things, and just how we have invested in our people as well. I think, you know, that's really been important. You take me as an example of that. I started 7.5 years ago at the RHA as a head of IT support. Then I went to head of IT quite quickly. And then I have done probably half a dozen other roles since, but I've gradually worked my way through different things and been given equal opportunity to go for everything that I've wanted to go for. You don't get that in a lot of associations, but you also don't get that in a lot of businesses because of the way that they're geared up and governed. So they're the couple of areas that I'd say that we've really focused on over the last 3 to 5 years, and I would say I'm very proud to work here because of those areas as well, and all the others and all the other bits that the 130 odd people do.
Fantastic. And so thinking, because we the backdrop for this kind of podcast is thinking ahead to the CV show, of course, this year in 2025. You rightly mentioned that 25th year, which is exciting, right? 25 years of history and heritage. And it kind of feels like this year, like really no other year in a long time, the absolute focus is around, decarbonisation. It's the biggest challenge of the industry, and the tech side of things, it's moving on at an incredible pace. What are you most looking forward to personally, and what do you think will be the biggest leap forward in the and if you don't say the EV Cafe, you're in trouble. And what do you think is going to be the biggest move forward for the audience? What do you think is going to, what are you looking forward to personally? But what do you think is going to really impact the audience this year?
Oh, what a great question! It's coming back your way in a second as well. So obviously the EV Cafe, obviously the EV Cafe, number one on the list. But let's put EV Cafe to the side just for the moment. I said that last year was a reset year, really, and you're absolutely right. We've done a couple of different things this year. We brought in a well-versed, well-chaptered event organizer in the 19 group, and the energy they've brought. I mean, I can't describe the energy that comes from that company. If you want to see what great ethics and ethos within an organization looks like, apart from looking at ours, obviously. Go and have a look at the 19 group, the way that they're just so excited with every event they do, with every element. I mean, I know that both of you have met Maggie from the marketing side. I've never met a bouncier person. I thought John and you were probably the bounciest people I'd ever met before, but she just blows you out of the park, and that's no disservice to you. She is just on cloud nine all the time.
No.
So positive about the show. And I think that energy that they've brought has really just taken that reset and thrown it forward at such an accelerated pace. And going back to your question, what am I most excited by? Everything. The energy in the room, seeing, the increase in footfall, the wonderful stands that people have put together, because they put so much effort, time, money, resource into being there at the show. You just want to see that phenomenal event. We have the main stage seminar theatre area, which I'm really looking forward to hearing. And you hit a couple of nails on the head. We're going to be talking decarbonisation. We're going to be talking about, technology, AI in the industry, how it's evolving. But we're also going to be talking about some of those subjects you might have heard before, but there is evolution happening, like in the sense of freight crime. It's rife. Freight crime is rife, and it has a focus and a tackle, and our policy leads as well as industry experts are going to be communicating what those things are that are either coming down the line or now available, or what you should be doing, giving you that practical guidance and advice that you should be taking. So there's that element, but then you've also got the stuff around the vehicle maintenance. I touched on it from a skills point of view, but it's also from a standards point of view. And there's going to be a lot of chat around that side of things with expert panels going through what those regulatory changes are, what we need to be looking forward to in terms of down the line, and how that's going to impact potential organisations and people that are visiting the association, and those that are exhibiting at the event as well. Sorry. So the theatre areas, the talks, the discussions, but you've summed it up nicely. It's about that energy in the room. It's about engaging with people. That's what I'm looking forward to the most. I'm going to be there for the 3 days. I'm going to be going around. I'll be annoying you guys like I did last year, asking you what's working, what's not, who's thrown what curveballs at you, what freebies can you throw my way, all those kind of things. But yeah, it's just going to be a fantastic event. I don't know how to describe it else other than that. It's just going to be a fantastic event with so much happening.
And that's my question. So you mentioned ROI right at the beginning of this, and you said return on investment is key. I wonder how you measure success, Stephen. So a lot of shows, it's all about footfall. It's all about the number of people that come, and that's a really blunt instrument. And return on investment is measured in so many fluffy different ways. How do you make sure that you are hitting the right messages, the right exhibitors, the right stuff going on in that show to keep it going forward? Is it partly your own personal investment of time, but there's a broader piece here which is more data driven?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you had the opportunity to come to the media and exhibitor day, which we did recently and will be doing in the future, they actually added an addition to that and had a speaker about exactly that, ROI, because it was more targeted in 2 parts. One was at the exhibitors and how they can measure their ROI, because it's been previously done on a straightforward, how many leads have I generated, what revenue has that generated for me, how much did I spend on my stand and everything else, and now tell me what my ROI was.
Yeah.
But there's other elements to it as well, and I alluded to it at the beginning. There's that brand awareness that you just can't, it's very difficult to measure. It's about the engagement that the show can give. And, one of the things that we did this year is we launched a brand new website. And on that website, which we haven't done in previous years, but this came back from the feedback of 2024, we've actually launched the products and solutions side of the website, where people can actually put on there what are the products they're going to be demoing, what are the solutions that they offer. So there's almost that ability for them to see what they're going to go and physically see before they even get to the show. Likewise, there's the exhibitors list that's on there that gives more context for what the exhibitors are doing at the show and everything else. So it just allows people to prep. But you hit the nail on the head with the data side of things. And this was mentioned at the media day as well by Mike Costain, who is leading the CV show this year from a 19 group perspective. And it comes down to over 25 years, we have managed to develop a great data set that tells us a lot of information about the people that engage with us, that come to the show, about the people that exhibit at the show. And what I will say, and I'll just get it in here, is there is a huge amount of loyalty with the exhibitors at the CV show, and that cannot be understated. Yes, they only do that because they are getting what they perceive as the objectives achieved of what they want to achieve. But there is also a loyalty to the show, which I can only thank them for as a partner of bringing that show to the floor. But the data has really enabled us to dive into what are the trends, what is it showing us that we aren't having at the show that we need to have at the show to bring relevance and value to people. What do we have at the show that's got relevance and value, and what are the people telling us that come back year after year after year that we need to do? And listening to them, understanding it and formulating a real plan. And Mike alluded to it in his presentation at the media day. This isn't a 1 year, 2 year plan. This is a 5 year plan. This is a how do we bring in more of that technology, more of the vehicles, more of the demographic into the show? And actually, how do we breach into that international market as well? Because we have seen an uptake in the amount of international stands and visitors that are coming into the show. So there's obviously a value there. So how do we tap into that as well? Because then that brings new markets into the exhibitors at the show as well. So just enriching that product all round. But you nailed it on the head. You hit the nail on the head. It's data driven. It's people driven. It's engagement driven. And if you get doing those things right, then actually what I personally have to deliver is very little. What 19 group has to deliver is a lot more. But ultimately, it's so much easier to be able to achieve that because you have a clear direction of travel of what you want to be doing with the show that's going to add relevance and value. And it goes back to those two key points, which my MD will be loving the fact that I'm dropping those two words in because it's the ones that we actually prioritise within our association: relevance and value.
Yeah, and I mean that's what's exciting me. I have to say is that the show is building up to deliver a heck of a lot of value and relevant value at that because the challenges of the market are well known. Both the light and the heavy commercial vehicle space is not as straightforward for the electrification process, the decarbonisation process. It just isn't. It's as simple as that. And we're very fortunate at the EV Cafe Village, of course, to have some amazing speakers coming through the door. You know, people that have been in the public sector, have led some of the largest fleets in the UK, that are leading some of the operations for the OEMs, the vehicle manufacturers, policy experts. You know, we've got just about everybody, Steve. It is just mind-blowing. And that's just our little bit. And obviously the most important bit. But it's our little bit. But although you guys, I know, have got a day that you're looking after the stage over there. Steve, you and take this the right way, you seem like a pretty fighty person. And what I mean by that is a person with a lot of pluck, a lot of determination, a lot of eagerness to kind of get on. Where's that come from? I mean, were you just beaten at school and stuff? Or, I mean, what happened?
Well, I definitely can't say I was beaten at home, otherwise child services would be right around to my parents' house. But
straight round. Yeah.
But no, you know what? It probably all stems from genetics, to be perfectly honest. My dad was a self-made, self-driven person. He went on a very similar journey to me. He fought his way into every role he took. He did everything he could. He came from a different era where you had to be a lot more like that than you do these days. But no, it comes back to that, and that's. If you think about role models and people, and I'm sure you were probably trying to get onto this side of things. My first role model was obviously, like a lot of people's, my dad. He worked hard. He was never home because he worked so much. He used to travel a lot. He fought for every penny that he could earn, and he sent every penny back to support the family rather than doing what he could have done and spent half of it and then sent the other half back. And he didn't let us. We didn't. I had a charmed life. Let's not be around to bare no bones. I was not fed on bread and water. I was given every luxury that he felt it was appropriate for me to have, but I had to work for it. And he instilled those ethics in me at an early age that if you want something, that's fine. I'll help and support you to get there, but you're going to need to have some drive about yourself to go and get it. And I think right from that young age, having that in, and I try to instill it in my children now, and they're only 4 and 6, but I try to instill it in them, and even in the sense of you can only go and buy stuff if you earn the money to be able to buy this thing. So what are you going to do to achieve wanting that goal? Now, you obviously scale that as they go through the years, and I appreciate you've got children of your own as well that you've probably got the same stories from. But it all comes from that. Don't get me wrong; it's not been easy. I've had as many knockbacks as I've had push forwards. I've had as many challenges along the road. It isn't easy. But you just have to remember that everything that's not easy is actually making you stronger. And everything that you see as a challenge now will be made that much easier because you faced it as a challenge now, and you either conquered it or you failed on it. You learned from it, and it drove you to that next stage. So, I'd say it stemmed from genetics, from the way that my parenting, and from the way that my parents raised me. And then I just, at an early age, I had a love for money. I'll be honest. I had love for money. When I first realised that I could make money from gardening, I went annoying all the neighbours, saying, "I'm cutting your grass for you. You're going to pay me. I'm going to go and do all the trimming of your plants for you and everything else. I'll do all the babysitting for any of you."
Isn't that called extortion?
Well, it is these days. Back in then, it was just good business, wasn't it? It was good. But no, and you know that money was a big driver for me, and that's probably one of the pivotal changes that I had to accept when I went for working for an enterprise-sized business to working for the RHA. And that's no disservice to the RHA; they were very different models. One's trekking around the world doing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pounds worth of infrastructure. The other one was running a team of 5 individuals to support at that stage, 90 to 100 colleagues. Very different models. But my focus at that point, and the reason for mentioning it, changed very much from a monetary driven solution or lifestyle or pathway to one about actually what was the quality and the life that I wanted. Because I'd worked hard, so it gave me the ability to say I didn't need all that extra surplus cash every month. So I could go to working in this role, I could start a family, and I could still achieve probably the majority of the things that I really saw as a necessity without feeling the impact too much. But that all started right back from day one when I went, I'll do 3 jobs. I'll go and do night service as a porter for one of a well-known hotel chain, which I won't name, for a well-known hotel chain. I'll then go and do room service and stuff for them in the evenings. And then I'll go and work in a garden centre and go with my dad to work when he was working at Rockingham Motor Speedway and run their shop not run their shop, work in their shop, with some wonderful people. So, it all stems from that on the journey and the drive, and that's really propelled me to, where I am now. But that's not my limit. I'm going to keep trying, keep pushing, keep failing, and then succeeding, all the way through to as far as I can go, really. I'm not going to set a ceiling.
Do you know what? This is the bit of the show, Stephen, where ordinarily I would say to you, can you tell me about a time where you've had to really be resilient? But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to flip that slightly. The industry is challenged. Logistics is a difficult area to make money at. You work long hours. There are huge regulations placed upon operators to meet standards, to deliver on time. The pressure is enormous. The industry is having to dig deep right now to continue to function and make this change to a decarbonised way of operating. Apart from decarbonisation in its broadest sense, how do you think the industry is responding to having to dig deep and to almost reinvent itself to something cleaner, greener, speedier, more efficient going forward?
We work for a resilient industry. The logistics sector is a proud and strong sector, and they have faced immense challenges year in, year out for a very long time. Whether that's driver shortages, whether that's financially, whether that's through legislation changes, the increasing pressures on compliance side of things. And then, meanwhile, also operating a business that finds itself challenged in all the other ways of getting the right people skilled, getting the right people into their operations, dealing with succession planning, and all of that side of things. And it truly is a resilient industry, but it is challenging. Last year we saw the largest amount of insolvencies for the people that came into the industry. It's a challenging one to now get into and stay in. The pressures are immense. And we talk about workforce and aging workforce and getting that next generation through. That's a real challenge. Making the industry attractive to the younger generations that just see, haulage as a person sat in a cab driving around the country, or a man sat in a van driving around doing deliveries all the time. There's so much more to it, and getting that message across is vital. the work that our policy lead for skills does with driving that message around the opportunities within the industry, how you can get upskilled within the industry, how the government funding can support that, whether that's through boot camps or whether that's through private funding, whatever it may be. But there's roles in IT, finance, there's operations, there's everything. You need everything from people that know how to pave the way to all the people doing the strategy piece and setting the direction of travel and everything in between. And I think, the greatest challenge that the industry has is attracting that talent into their operations so that they actually get that fresh perspective with all these new technologies coming in. And like you mentioned about decarbonisation, you need differences of opinion. You need someone challenging you to look at things through different lenses. And you only do that by getting well-skilled, well-rounded people around you, workforce around you. On top of that, they have all the resilience from the financial pressures. Every other month, there's a different type of financial pressure coming on top of something else, or a different level of legislation coming up on top of something else. So it is challenging.
I'm interested in an element of that. It's a pressure environment, working in logistics. What's your sense of the mental health of the drivers, the guys and girls who are out on a road, working hard every day, battling not just all of these big strategic things, but actually the simple things of being on the road, of being away from home, being lonely? Is there a massive mental health challenge in the operators and the drivers of vehicles at the moment?
There's definitely a challenge. We work strongly on mental health and well-being within the industry, and you're absolutely right. When it comes to lone working, which essentially people driving around all day are doing, it can be a very lonely space. Some people have a natural ability to love that and adopt it and take it on board. Some people come into the industry, they get their qualifications and certifications, they go off and they go and do the role, and they really struggle with it. What we try to do is ensure, and we have a number of programs, and people can go to our website and have a look at them. I won't want to do them an injustice, but we've got a number of programs that people have access to that they can gain advice, support, guidance on, if you operate within the industry. Because it's a lonely space. You've got everything from the challenges of lone working. You've got everything from the challenges of the climate and the environment that we touched on it from a freight crime point of view. People operating in these cabs feel vulnerable, and they need to feel that they are getting the support, which is also linking into, and it's kind of how our pillars and our priorities link together here. It links into the infrastructure, and it links into facilities. Safe, secure facilities is something, we have to get greater access to and make more readily available, because that will help with the mental health side of things as well. And having access to these resources that I've mentioned that people can go to our website for will only help that further. But what I will say is the stigma around mental health is changing.
Yes.
And I think that's a great thing. There is nothing wrong with saying, I'm not in a good place, I need some support. And what I would say to anybody that's listening to this that is in that space, regardless of what you're doing, seek out that advice, seek out that support, and make sure you get it. Even if you feel, oh, it's all right, it's not for me, it's for someone else. Have a conversation. What you're going to lose? You pick up the phone, you have a conversation, you find out, actually, I am fine. Wow, wonderful. That's what you want. But if you think of the end case of the scenario of that, you don't have that conversation and you miss that opportunity. What was it worth to you? So, it's something I'm very passionate about as a subject as a whole, that mental health, and we have some fantastic experts that can offer that guidance, advice and support, and just be there for you. Absolutely. And we've got our future forum coming up on the 11th of September. It's it's a great event. It's going to have loads of industry experts and everything else, but it will pick up on those topics, and there'll be some workshops available as well. So if that's something you want to get more information on or dive into, then have a look on our website for the Future Forum and get yourself signed up, and I'll look forward to seeing you there and supporting you on your journey.
Good man. Thank you, Stephen.
There you go. Bit of a plug there as well.
It is such an important area, and I think the last couple of questions have really brought out some of the real challenges within our industry and some of the things that we want to change. Many of the things that we're going to address, of course, at the CV show, which is coming up in the 29th, 30th of April and the 1st of May this year, 2025. And it's going to be exciting. Community is what we stand for as the EV Cafe, of course, and the EV Cafe Village is a great collection of people that are like-minded across the mental health mindset. There's a number of mental health first aiders that will actually be in the EV Cafe Village. John and I are both mental health first aiders, and there's other people that will do it. So there's that, but there's also that community and that encouragement and the collective ability of a group of people to take the challenges on. But, Stephen, we have a special tradition at the end, towards the end of an EV Cafe Takeaway podcast. And let me present you with the magic wand. There we go. So you have one wish, and I'm going to pass you the magic wand now. So here it comes. There it goes. It through the cameras, and that's it. You've got it. That's it. Excellent. So you now, with your wand, you have one wish. What would it be? In the context of this, we know you like money, but not a big pile of money. What would be your wish?
I think it's for me, the wish is exactly what we just finished on, the mental health side of things. My wish is that as a result of this podcast, as a result of the CV show, that it helps even just one person that is going through those struggles, and it helps them to get the support that they need. Like you say, you've got some mental health first aiders on your stand. We have our stand as well, and we will also be promoting those different services that's available to people to make sure that they can get discreet guidance and advice and support on that. So my wish, it helps at least one person on their journey and helps them get more mentally stable, and pulls them back from anything that they may be wanting to do.
That's the best use of a wand ever.
What a lovely! You've just given yourself top spot.
Or when you pass the wand over to that person, I expect them to say to me, "Right, I've ordered you a bag of money with my wand as well."
A big pile of money. Fantastic. Well, Stephen, it's been great getting to know you, and what I think we've learned is that the wonderful person that we met, over a year ago, and we did say that we would do this, but it's clear that you are genuinely passionate about our industry. It's clear that you have a really good heart, and that is lovely to see. It's lovely also to see that that inverted commas charmed life, because life has its ups and downs, and you talked about the resilience and the good, the bad, the failures, the difficulties, but the successes and the opportunities that have been with you through life has given this wonderful rounded person that we've got before us, who is passionate about our industry, is driving things forward, and cares about people. And that is so valuable. So for me, as I look at, and obviously the RHA have you today, and we'll probably have you for a few more years, and I don't know what direction it is, but it does seem like that you have that more to give, that rounded leadership that has a number of different mindsets to it that has grown, because I know you've got a commercial mind as well. Operations is part of your day. It's all there. Maybe a managing director at some point in the future. I think I'll make a prediction. There you go. I'm going to use the wand I wish that this man gets into the role of a managing director, because it will make a difference for the business, for the industry, and for the people around it. So that's my little wish. John, what are your final thoughts of this lovely man that we've spent an hour with?
We've talked a lot about HGVs over the last few months, Paul, and I've described them in a way from my childhood, which is that the lorry drivers, the truckers, were the knights of the road. And what I get a sense of from Stephen is that those knights are still out there doing a great job, battling through challenging conditions. And knights back in the day used to have a trusty squire, somebody who would have their back, make sure that they had their armour, they made sure that they were okay with their horse and they got up and all that stuff. And I get a sense that the squirehood, if you like, of the RHA provides that service to the Knights of the Road, just as it used to many centuries ago. And you, sir, are the best baldrick I have ever come across.
I've never heard the RHA described that way, but what a great compliment it is to hear it.
Yeah, well, if you can take baldrick and get a compliment out of that, well done you. I mean, that's pretty...
Back in the first series of Blackadder, Baldrick was actually the most intelligent, and the Lord wasn't. The Lord was Rowan Atkinson's character was as thick as mince. So actually, the Squire was where the power was, and I think to a certain extent that still is the same. That there's a real strength to what the RHA bring to the party, which is not always seen and understood, but it's there.
Extremely well put.
We've taken an hour of your time, and we so value what you've brought to the party today. It's been a real joy for us to get to know you a little bit more, but also see what value both the RHA and yourself add to the Knights of the Road. Well done, John. But also to the CV show. And the CV show is, as I think I mentioned, coming up 29th, 30th of April, 1st of May. John always wants me to remind us all that we will be dancing around a maypole on the 1st of May, apparently, with bells and hankies and a bit of Morris dancing. And look out, world, here we come. So I look forward to seeing you there and seeing everybody that hopefully is listening to this there. And if you missed it and you're listening to this podcast after the 29th, 30th of April, 1st of May, then you must come next year, because it's just going to get even better. As Stephen referred to, this 3 to 5 year plan of development and growth and expertise. But this will be the place that you can get some support. John, what?
We referred to Stephen as Baldrick. He has a cunning plan.
Oh dear, you set him up now. Likewise, thank you ever so much for having me on. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I always come away from conversations with yourselves and interactions with yourself with a beaming smile on my face, which is a testament to the energy that you guys bring into the room. So thank you very much for having me. It's much appreciated.
Bless you.
Good. Well, as long as it isn't a sense of despair that you come away from us from, that's okay.
That's right, I'll go and have a sip drink now. Actually, wait, I'm not allowed to drink on the job, am I?
No. John's having some apple juice. Anyway, well...
I only joke. I'm teetotal, so...
Me too.
2 out of 3 ain't bad. Right, anyway... Everybody, thank you so much for sticking with us. And I'm sure we'll hopefully see you at the CV show. Check out Stephen at the CV show. He will be around on the RHA stand or the RHA main stage, which is, it's almost as good as the decarbonisation theatre. But it'll be just over, not far from us, actually. I think you're quite close. All the stages are quite close. So that will be great. Check out everything, and especially the mental health pages of the RHA website. You can get support there regardless of your situation. If you're in transport, they are there to help, and I'm sure if you reach out, they will be able to help in whatever way. If you've listened to this podcast, it's been a joy, and we're really looking forward to the CV show. And join us there. Check out our website, evcafe.org, for plenty more podcasts like this one. A couple more from people on the CV show as well. And of course, Apple and Spotify and all of those good places where plenty more. And look out for plenty of content coming live to you from the CV show too. So, Stephen, thanks again. John, it's been a great day. And with that in mind, everybody, have a great day yourselves. Take care now.